You don't belong here. That's what they told him. When he was a kid with a name too complicated for American teachers to pronounce, when he was too brown, too foreign, too different, and later when he dared to run for office at 28 years old, they said it again. Too young, too radical, too idealistic. He won anyway. This is the story of Zohran Mamdani, and it starts where most political stories end, with rejection. The Outsider, 1990, Uganda, a country still healing from dictatorship and violence. Zohran Kwame Mamdani is born into a family of intellectuals and activists. His father, Mahmoud Mamdani, is a renowned scholar. His mother, a passionate advocate for justice. But they're displaced, refugees of circumstance and necessity. Uganda to England, England to South Africa, South Africa to New York. By the time Zohran is 5 years old, he's already lived in 4 different countries. Imagine never having roots. Always being the new kid, always having to explain where you're from, why your name sounds like that, why you don't quite fit into any neat category. He grows up in Astoria, Queens, an immigrant neighborhood where dozens of languages echo through the streets. But even there, Zohran exists in the spaces between. Not American enough for Americans, not Ugandan enough for Ugandans, not quite fitting anyone's expectations of who he should be. Most kids in that position try to disappear. They anglicize their names, they hide their background, they shrink to fit. But Zohran does something different. He decides that being an outsider isn't a curse. It's a superpower. When you don't belong to any one tribe, you can see all of them clearly. When you're not invested in protecting the system, you can recognize when it's broken. The Awakening. Fast forward to 2016. Zohran is in his mid-20s, working on a political campaign that everyone said was impossible. Bernie Sanders, the Democratic Socialist, the insurgent, the guy who was supposed to lose to the inevitable Hillary Clinton. They do lose. But something fundamental shifts inside Zohran during that campaign. He sees how the political machine really works. The money, the endorsements, the insiders protecting insiders, the way working people get sidelined while corporations get access. And he thinks to himself, this is rigged. And if it's rigged, someone needs to break it. He moves back to Astoria, the neighborhood that raised him, and he starts organizing. Not with big money or fancy consultants. Door to door, subway stations, community centers. He talks to people that everyone else ignores. The working class families, the immigrants struggling to stay in their apartments, the renters watching their neighborhood transform into luxury condos they'll never afford. He doesn't promise easy solutions. He tells them the truth. The system is designed to keep people like us out. So we're going to have to break in, together. People are skeptical at first. Another young idealist who'll disappear after one election cycle. But Zohran doesn't talk like other politicians. He doesn't use the polished corporate speak. He's direct. He's angry about the right things, and he actually listens. He spends 2 years building relationships, learning what his community actually needs, not what consultants think they need, what they're actually telling him they need. The Impossible Victory, 2020. In the middle of a global pandemic, Zohran announces he's running for State Assembly, District 36, Astoria and Long Island City. His opponent is a 14-year incumbent, connected, well-funded, part of the establishment machine that's dominated New York politics for decades. The odds are laughable. Zohran has no money, no political machine, no powerful endorsements from unions or party bosses. What he has is people. Volunteers knock on 50,000 doors during a pandemic, wearing masks, keeping distance. They text voters, they make calls, they organize in WhatsApp groups and on street corners. And Zohran is everywhere, at protests, at community meetings, on stoops talking to elderly immigrants about rent. He's not performing, he's not doing photo ops. He's actually there, listening, fighting. His message cuts through all the noise. Housing is a human right. Healthcare is a human right. You deserve someone who fights for you, not for real estate developers. The establishment dismisses him. Too radical, won't connect with voters. Just another Bernie bro who doesn't understand how politics actually works. Primary night, August 2020. The results come in. Zohran wins by 12 points. A 28-year-old Democratic Socialist immigrant just demolished a political machine. The victory isn't just about one seat. It's proof. Proof that you can win without corporate money. proof that progressive policies resonate when you actually talk to working people. Proof that being an outsider isn't a liability when the insiders have failed everyone. The fight continues. Now comes the harder part. Being an outsider who wins is different from being an outsider who fights from the outside. Now you're inside the system you spent years criticizing. You have power, but you're surrounded by people who want to sand down your edges, make you practical, reasonable, controllable. Zohran enters the state assembly as one of the youngest members and one of the most progressive, and he faces the choice every revolutionary eventually faces. Do you compromise to get things done, or do you hold firm to your principles even when it's uncomfortable? He chooses both. He pushes hard for tenant protections, for climate legislation, for ending cash bail. He sponsors bills that the establishment hates, and when budgets come up that don't do enough for working people, he votes no, even when his own party leadership pressures him, even when it would be easier to just go along. Some people call him uncompromising, a purist, too difficult to work with, but his constituents keep re-electing him because he does exactly what he said he'd do. That's shockingly rare in politics. Zohran's still in office today, still organizing, still fighting, but he's building something bigger than just his own career. He's proving a model, showing other young people, other immigrants, other outsiders that you can break into systems designed to keep you out. Not by playing by their rules, but by building enough power to change the rules entirely. The lesson. Here's what Zohran Mamdani's story teaches us. Being an outsider isn't a weakness, it's clarity. When you don't belong to the system, you can see its flaws without the fog of self-interest. When people tell you, you don't belong here, they're really saying, we're afraid of what you'll change if you get in. That's not a warning. That's an invitation. Zohran could have played it safe, worked in academia like his father, built a comfortable life away from the mess of politics. Instead, he walked into rooms where he wasn't welcome. He challenged people with decades more experience and infinitely more money. He built a movement from nothing but conversations and conviction, not because he was special or uniquely talented, but because he was willing to be uncomfortable. Because he understood that change doesn't come from insiders making tiny adjustments. It comes from outsiders refusing to stay outside. The kid they said didn't belong is now writing laws for millions of people. The outsider they said would never win has been re-elected multiple times. And the movement he's building is spreading. More young progressives are running. More outsiders are breaking in. More people are realizing that the word impossible is just something comfortable people say to protect their comfort. Zohran Mamdani's story isn't finished. It's just beginning. And the real power of his story isn't just what he's accomplished. It's what he's proven is possible for everyone watching who's ever been told they don't belong.